Welcome to Loren Live. My name is Christopher Gergen, and as always, I am your host. And joining us tonight, as usual, is Mr. Loren Culp, running for Congress in Washington's 4th Congressional District. Loren, how are you doing?
I'm doing great. Merry Christmas, everybody. I want to say hi. Merry Christmas to you, Chris. Hi to Jay, Desiree, Dita, Brian, Shell, Michael, Susan, Deborah, Hawk, KJ, Jay, Dean, Michael, Susie, and so many more. Terry, Yvonne, thank you guys for joining us.
Absolutely. So we got some good news tonight, ladies and gentlemen, that we're going to share with you in just a moment. We're also we're also going to discuss Brandon's speech that he gave today regarding COVID and Omicron and all of that mess. So we've got a pretty good show, and I'm going to take an impromptu poll for you folks that are watching tonight. So let's get it started and chat a little bit about the poll. So we ran a poll a couple weeks ago, and just to see where we were headed into the new year, and we wanted a clean poll. There's a couple different ways, Loren, that you can run a poll. You can run it as what's called a push poll, meaning that you want to. It's like sticking your thumb on the scale, and you use that primarily for marketing purposes. It's not really anything that you would use internally. But this poll was so fantastic. It was an internal poll that we ran to just see where we were. We did not plan to put this out. And in fact, when I came to Mr. Culp last month about running the poll, I specifically told him that we probably wouldn't put it out. But the results were just too good to keep to ourselves.
And this, everybody's heard polls all the time around the presidential election, especially. This is not the type of poll that Hillary Clinton and CNN do, right?
No, those are push polls. Those are marketing polls. Yeah,
right.
Yep. So we asked a lot of different questions on this poll, ladies and gentlemen, and so the poll looked at 600 likely voters in Washington's 4th Congressional District, and we created the poll in such a way that it mirrored pretty closely to the demographics and to the layout of the political chessboard in Washington's 4th. Because, again, we wanted real data on where we were in this race to see what we have to do moving forward. The third question, Mr. Culp, on the poll is Trump's approval. And the question goes like this: when thinking back to the cumulative 4-year tenure, do you approve or disapprove of the job Donald Trump did as president of the United States? And on that poll question, about 51% strongly approved. Mm-hmm. About another 12.3%, or roughly 12%, somewhat approved. So right there, you've got an approval of 63%, roughly 2 out of 3 voters, roughly 2 out of 3 voters strongly approved of the job that Mr. Trump did.
That's very strong.
That's huge. Those are eye-popping numbers, actually.
Yeah, and you think about Biden's approval rating right now. What has it hit the 20s yet, or is it?
It is. It's 28. Yeah, it's 28. Yeah. That's the last one I saw. Was 28.
He's trying to catch up with Kamala. I think she's in the low 20s. Yeah. Yeah,
she's in the low 20s or teens. At this point in the game, Mr. Culp, I would be grateful for Carter. You know what I mean?
I was in the military. The first 6 months of my service was under Carter. Yeah. He was horrible, but
horrible, but by comparison, he would be outstanding.
Yeah, so then this is a dumpster fire that we got going on right now.
It really is. So then we go to Biden's approval here. Let's go, Brandon. Let's see how Brandon's doing. So strongly approve 18%. 18%.
I'm surprised there's that many people.
Right. Yeah, those are all the Democrats in the district.
Should be single digit.
Somewhat approve 17%. So roughly 35% approve of the job he's doing. The strongly disapprove, 53.5%, and then somewhat disapprove is about 10%. And what's interesting with this question, Loren, is that there's only 1.6% that have no opinion.
Wow.
So they're very, very decisive. People have weighed in on this because food prices are higher. Crime has gone up.
Everything.
Education is bad. And I mean, everything that is important to voters, what we call kitchen table issues, are just in the toilet. As for which way the district is going, and all these are good numbers for us, by the way, and we haven't even got to Mr. Culp's numbers yet. So far, when I was reading this stuff, I was super excited. Political leaning. When thinking about your political ideology since January of 2020, do you feel that you are leaning more to the left, leaning more to the right, or about the same? So about 15% are more to the left. So 15% are like, you know what? Biden is not liberal enough. King Inslee is not liberal enough. So 15%. More to the right is about 35.5%, which is stunning. 35.5% of voters in the district are saying, you know what? Enough is enough. I wasn't paying attention before, but I'm sure I'm paying attention now. We need to bring this ship hard right.
Yeah, you would have to be, half dead, not paying attention, living under a rock to think that everything is hunky-dory.
And about 44% are about the same, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's the district itself already, ladies and gentlemen, Washington's 4th Congressional District is already by a mile, is already the most conservative congressional district in Washington state. And based off this question right here, we are seeing that the most conservative district in Washington state is trending more conservative than it already was.
That's excellent. It sometimes it takes a tragedy like this presidency to really get people to pay attention, to wake up to what's going on. And, I definitely take some mean tweets, over this garbage
100%.
That's going on. Yeah. And I think that a lot of people who didn't vote for President Trump now realize the good things he was doing for our country.
Absolutely. And there aren't very many fence sitters anymore, because these are real issues. When you go to fill up your car, and it used to cost you $50, and now it costs you $80, or now it costs you $100, that's a light bill, right? Or that's that's food for your little ones, or that's that's the gas bill. I mean, these are things that are affecting real Americans, and it's very difficult to talk your way out of that when people are actually paying real dollars out of their paychecks, because as a direct result of the policies that you're putting in place.
Yep.
So,
and we talked about that on a previous show too, about inflation, and that rising prices are a symptom of inflation, and that the government printing and spending more and more money, putting more and more money into circulation, devalues the amount, the worth of a dollar, and so that's why everything is costing so much more. There's supply and demand inflation, and then there's government intervention inflation, and that's what's going on right now.
100%. So question 6, new House approval. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm sure you're probably aware, but if you're not aware, Mr. Culp is running against Dan Newhouse, who's sitting congressman. Is a rhino, is a moderate Republican in name only, that currently holds the seat in Washington's 4th Congressional District. So we wanted to know about his approval. Do you approve or disapprove of the job Dan Newhouse is doing as congressman in Washington Congressional District 4? So 12.4% strongly approve. 32.4 somewhat approve. somewhat approve. 24% roughly somewhat disapprove, and 20% strongly disapprove. So when you combine those, his disapprovals, Mr. Culp, are higher than his approvals this far out in an election. So it seems that the voters in Washington Congressional District 4 are not happy with the representation that they're getting from Mr. Newhouse.
Well, yeah, we've got a bunch of people who are hardworking Americans that live in this district, independent, rugged type of individuals. And they don't want a nanny government. They don't want a representative who votes for unconstitutional red flag laws, who incentivizes more and more people to come across our southern border illegally. They don't want that kind of stuff. And they don't want someone who calls himself a conservative and a Republican to stab a Republican president in the back like he did.
Primary ballot first choice. This is the big one. This was the question, ladies and gentlemen, that I wanted to see. If the 2022 state primary election for Congressional District 4 were held today, and the candidates were Republicans Loren Culp, Benicio Garcia, Corey Gibson, Brad Klippert, Dan Newhouse, Jared Sessler, and Democrat Doug White, for whom would you vote? Loren Culp, 29.5%. Now, this is a pretty crowded field, by the way. So I think in the governor's race, we had, 35 opponents? Yeah. Which was ridiculous, which, by the way, I've never seen.
Total candidates, yeah.
Yeah, so, and I've been doing this 25 years. I've never seen 36 total candidates in a race. That's unbelievable. Typically, a lot is like 6, 7, 8.
Yeah.
And there's let's see,
30,
2, 4, 6. There's 7 in this race. Yeah. So 7 total candidates. And typically the undecideds at this point, I mean, we're 8 months away from the election. I just want to give context to this. So we're 8 months away. There's a lot of runway left. A lot of things can happen. This is just where we're at as we head into 2022.
Just a snapshot in time.
It is. And typically the undecideds at this point are 40-45%, roughly. Somewhere in there, 38, 40, 42, 43, so somewhere in there. So the undecideds are 26%, are only 26%. So pretty much people know who they're supporting this early, which is really good to know.
Right.
So Mr. Culp, 29.5% out of a crowded field. Garcia got 1.6%. Corey Gibson has 1.3%. Brad Klippert has 8.3%. Dan Newhouse has 16.1%. So, Mr. Culp, you are 13.5% higher than the incumbent in a crowded field this early in the race, which is absolutely phenomenal. And then one of the other guys in the rear is Jared Sessler. He's only at 2%. And then Doug White, the Democrat, there's a Democrat running, nominal guy. He's at 15.2%.
So him and the incumbent are pretty much neck and neck. I mean,
yeah,
Newhouse could be primaried if the Democrat puts in any effort in.
If the Democrat comes out strong, he could sneak up and take out Newhouse in August. If that happens, not likely, ladies and gentlemen, not likely. But if it does happen, then there's a very real chance, if that does happen, that Mr. Newhouse would be removed from Congress in August and would not appear on the general election ballot. Then it would be Mr. Culp, and it would be Mr. Culp versus the Democrat. So that's exciting. I mean, Doug White has really put minimal effort in, raised minimal money, and he's within 1 point of the incumbent this early in the race, which is really phenomenal.
That tells you a lot.
It really does.
In the most conservative district in the state.
Yes, absolutely. So then the next question was primary ballot head to head. So, Mr. Newhouse is is the incumbent. So we wanted to know Mr. Culp versus Mr. Newhouse without a crowded field. So if everybody, including Doug White, decided, you know what, we're out, we're not gonna run, and it's just Mr. Culp versus Mr. Newhouse. Mr. Culp is at 38%. 38%. Mr. Newhouse is at 31%. So you have him by 7%, and undecideds are at about 31%. So it's about a third roughly, but you have him edged out there, which is fantastic. This early in the race. So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a lot of work to do. Just because we have good results this early in the race doesn't mean that we take our foot off the gas and just cruise. We've got a lot of work to do. We've got a lot of money to raise, a lot of rallies to hold, and a lot of campaigning to do, a lot of doors to knock on, a lot of literature to drop off, a lot of mail to send, and we're going to need all of your help out there in the 4th Congressional District to do that.
Absolutely. We need anybody that can spare a little bit of time. We need volunteers. When things really get kicked into gear, we're going to need volunteers all over this district. So if you haven't already, go to my campaign website, culp4congress.com, and sign up for the emails there. Get on the list. You keep up on the activities and rallies and things that we're going to be kicking off here first part of next year.
Absolutely. So let's get to this. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to take before we get into Brandon's speech today, I'd like to get into some of the important issues that were on the minds of people. So question 10 was important issues. When thinking of important issues facing Washington State, which of the following is most important to you and your family? So I'm gonna read off I'm gonna read off 4 of these, and just jump down there in the comments. Just jump down there in the comments and tell us. We want to know which ones of these are out of all of these that I say, which one's the most important to you. Okay, so the first one is crime and public safety. Is that the most important thing on your mind right now? Election security. Obviously, Mr. Culp knows all about election security and how that can affect a race. Is it illegal immigration? Is that your top priority? And then rising inflation, the cost of goods. We discussed that, just a little bit of that just a moment ago. And then lastly, is it taxation? Okay, so which one is the most important issue for you? Is it crime and public safety, election security? Is it illegal immigration? Is it rising inflation costs, or is it taxation? Okay, so Mr. Culp, which one out of those is most important to you as a citizen in Washington's 4th? Not as a congressional candidate, but just which one of these affects you the most where you live there in Moses Lake?
Well, they all pretty much affect, but the most important thing for our country is election integrity. If we don't have integrity in our elections, where only U.S. citizens vote and one person, one vote, and that person's vote is counted, then we don't have a country anymore. And that's very important. Obviously, if we have people that are voting for other people or changing people's votes or adding ballots to the box, then we're not going to have a country pretty quick.
100%. I agree completely. So Brandon got on television today, Mr. Culp. I know you watched it, as did I.
Yeah, it was hard. It was really hard. But I made myself watch it. But yeah, one of the toughest things I have ever done. It's pretty rough.
So he babbled for about 20 minutes. And he kept repeating himself. One of the takeaways
he got angry, and then he whispered, and it was quite the show.
So one of the big takeaways that I took from it, and then I'll throw it over to you to get your reaction on this, is that those people that have not taken the shot have chosen not to. They're not anti-vax. They're just anti-mandate, and for whatever reason, they've decided that the shot is not for them or for their family. The president went out of his way to demonize these people, saying that the holidays for those that are vaccinated are going to be, cheery and I'm paraphrasing, ladies and gentlemen, cheery and love bubbles, and it should be fine, but wear your mask. And for everybody that isn't vaccinated, there's just going to be carnage and death, and it's just going to be, one of the most terrible things in the world. Did I not hear that properly, or did you hear the same thing?
Yeah, it pretty much was that. It's amazing how many free things there are in this world. In Biden's world, everything's free, free, free. And we all know that things are not free. Somebody's paying for things. But if you listen to Biden or any of the other Democrats and Rhino Republicans, everything's free, free, free. Nobody has to pay for anything. We're given, it's absolutely asinine. Nothing is free. And it's pretty amazing, if you think about our founding fathers when they set this country up. A rugged individualism, not a nanny state, not a federal government that was going to take care of us from the cradle to the grave, not a government that was going to educate us, not going to take care of our health care, not going to tax us to death. They set up a free country, greatest country in the history of the world. And to go from that, where you're free to go, do your work, be whatever you want to be, and keep the rewards of your hard labor, and not have government interfere, unless you're infringing on someone else's rights. To go from that to where we are now, with the left running Congress and the White House, and Biden basically talking to everyone like he is our keeper. We're just serfs. He's the master of our lives. He's worried about our health care. It's great to be concerned about everybody's health care, but not to mandate what people are going to do, what somebody's going to put in their body, to the point, like we all know, where he told business owners what they're going to do with their employees as far as healthcare, and they're going to get the jab if you have over 100, but 99, you're okay. It absolutely made it no sense, but for him to put himself in that role of being basically a dictator, he's dictating to us what's going to go on. And he made the comment, if I can remember exactly what he said, he made the comment that, I know there's a lot of Americans that are, and I'm paraphrasing, but I know there's a lot of Americans who are wondering if we can celebrate the holidays like we normally do. And, the first thing I thought is like, well, who are these people, right? Who's asking that, first of all?
Right.
And he said that, as long as you have got your booster and the people that you're with have their booster, then yes, you can celebrate the holidays as normal. But otherwise, apparently not, right? That is not a president of a free country. That's not how you talk to Americans. We're free people. We have individual freedom and liberty. And to have a pompous ass sit in the White House and say something like that it's absolutely un-American. And I'm going to read this. This is a tweet from Richard Grinnell. He was a U.S. ambassador for a while. And he put out a tweet with a picture of the White House website. And this is the message that they put out. We are intent on not letting Omicron disrupt work and school for the vaccinated. You've done the right thing, and we will get through this. For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourself, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm.
Merry Christmas.
Yeah. Merry Christmas. Wow. That is so great. I am so happy to have a message like that put out from my president. Not my president. How about that?
You know, it's stunning that narrative would even come out of a public servant's mouth.
I read that. You know, I retweeted. If anybody's on Twitter, I'm at Loren Culp on Twitter, and you can see that I retweeted that from Richard Grinnell. I believe it was just a few days ago. But when I read that, I thought, who in the world would allow that to go out? I mean, even if Biden actually wrote that, which I highly doubt, but who would in their right mind would let that go out, that message? For the unvaccinated, you're looking at a winter of severe illness and death for yourselves, your families, and the hospitals you may soon overwhelm. Who would allow that to go out? They need some new public relations people, because that's not how you talk to Americans. I was floored when I read that.
Well, this I think is really revealing. It used to be that the Democrats would moderate their messaging, and they would be more nuanced.
No moderating anymore.
Nope. And it's it's one of those things that when Mr. Trump came into office and became Mr. President, the left lost its mind, and the Marxists basically tore off their hoods, as it were, and you could see the communists behind the mask.
Absolutely.
And now they know that they're on borrowed time if they don't get this done. And I do follow legitimate pollsters, and there are a lot of legitimate Democrat pollsters that are telling the Democrat Party, y'all need to slow down on this because you're about to get blasted.
They're done. Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, you're talking about states, blue states, where teachers unions have defunded the National Teachers Union just because of the craziness that's going on and the blowback that they're getting on the ground. I mean, these people are completely out of touch. And all of this crap, not to get off on a different subject, but just real quick, all of this crap that is being taught in the public schools is coming from the federal government, the Department of Education. All of this liberal, socialist, dirty garbage is coming from the federal government. And that is one of the things that I will work on extremely hard, is to eliminate the federal Department of Education and return the education of our children back to the parents and local government, as it is supposed to be. That's stated in the 10th Amendment. What is not in the Constitution for the federal government to do will be left up to the states and the people. And so that is something that we're going to work on eliminating and get that power back in the parents' hands. So one of the things that I've been really dismayed about has been that Mr. Newhouse throughout his tenure has done exactly zero FaceTime. Well, I can't say zero. He's done maybe minimal FaceTime, and really he hasn't led the charge on anything. He hasn't pushed back on anything. When you look at his voting record, I mean, hell, he votes with the Democrats on a lot of issues that he should not be voting with the Democrats on, not the least of which the January 6th Commission, which is just a witch hunt, the impeachment, the sham impeachment, illegal immigration, a bunch of different things. I mean, I think that is why
red flag laws.
That is why we are in such a strong position. That is why, we're in such a strong position so early, because he has provided exactly zero leadership, which is what he's supposed to be providing in Congress on behalf of the citizens in Washington's 4th.
Well, ever since he's been in office, you can go look at his voting record. He has not understood from day one his role as a public servant. He has not understood what his job is as a congressman. You know, I know for a fact that every Congress man or woman raised their right hand and swore an oath to uphold and defend the Constitution. And I know that as soon as he said that, he didn't even give a second thought to what actually he took an oath to uphold and defend.
Right.
So many things he's voted for are unconstitutional. And when I get into Congress, that Constitution is basically what it is an employee manual. You know, it tells our employees, the people that we put into office to serve us, it tells them what their job description is. And anything that is not in there for, and they do, it's unconstitutional. It's left up to the states or the people, according to the 10th Amendment. And so all of these things, like I just mentioned, the Department of Education, unconstitutional. It is unconstitutional for the federal government to be taking over education. It's unconstitutional for the federal government to be taking over so many things. Healthcare is another one. You know, and I'm a firm believer in the Constitution, and not just one part of it or one sentence of it, the whole thing, including the 10th Amendment. If people realize how powerful the 10th Amendment was, you know, it says that anything not in the Constitution for the federal government to do is left up to the states and the people. If that was abided by, if that was upheld and defended, then we would have a very small, efficient federal government doing its job of protecting the states, making sure we have secure borders, we're not being overrun by people from foreign nations, making sure that commerce is smooth between the states, and negotiating trade deals with foreign nations. That's pretty much it. You know, I mean, that's looking at 30,000 feet. But all of these other things that are being done, you know, there's not anything in our lives that the federal government doesn't touch right now.
That's right.
And
That's
we need to get it back inside that box, right?
Absolutely. And I think that we also need to face head on a lot of the corruption that we find, you know, there, especially with the FBI,
Yes.
the CIA, the NSA, the DIA, the Department of Homeland Security. I mean, we could go on and on and on and on with the alphabet agencies. The corruption is so deep there, and the influence of the deep state, which is the permanent government that is there, regardless of party, they're going to play their games. There's a lot of that corruption that needs to be faced. You know, there have been some congressmen with a lot of courage, Jim Jordan being one of them, who is kind of the head of the Freedom Caucus there in the Republican side of the House. But there needs to be more congressmen, hopefully like you, Mr. Culp, who will not be afraid to face down the corruption, not only in the deep state, but with these alphabet agencies that are being leveraged by the left.
Yes. Along with the media. Yeah.
Along with the media. Absolutely.
They're ingrained very deeply in all of those agencies and in the media. That's obvious, you know, to any right thinking person. All you have to do is turn on CNN or MSNBC and you see that they are just repeating the same narrative. And even to the point where it's ridiculous that they can't really think that people believe some of the crap that they say. I mean, and Joe Biden today, when he was talking about some news media, he said, that keep repeating this lie, all the lies about Omicron and COVID. They need to stop lying and tell the truth. You know, they keep repeating a lie, thinking that, you know, eventually people are going to accept it. And I'm not one of those that are afraid to stand up. You know, obviously, I did that back in 2018, abided by my oath. And so we just have to take these guys on. We have to take back Congress. We have to take back the Senate. And if Biden or whoever's going to be in there until this term is up, then Congress can shut them down, because Congress has to approve any spending bills. And so we can just make him a lame duck president until we get, hopefully President Trump runs in 2024, or another good conservative if he decides not to, and remain in control of Congress and have a conservative president and pare back this federal government. It's been out of hand for a long time under Republican presidents and Democrat presidents both. It grows and grows and grows. And we need to pare this thing back. It's just eating our lives. We can't allow this to continue.
And we also can't allow Republicans to continue to vote with Democrats. And it's pretty much aiding and abetting the enemies of we the people.
Yes.
Yeah,
the enemy of the Constitution, the enemy of the United States, the enemy of we the people. If you're not abiding by the Constitution, your employee manual as a public servant, then you need to be fired and somebody put in that place. I mean, who would run a company and have people just running around doing whatever they feel like they need to do and not even paying attention to the employee manual that you gave them as their employer, right? These people work for us. We are their employer. Their employee manual is the U.S. Constitution, and they are not abiding by it. So it's time to kick their ass out and send them down the street with a pink slip and get somebody else in there. And I think it's going to happen in a big way in 2022.
I agree completely. So, Mr. Culp, are you pleased with where the poll results came back from our first poll in December?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I'm pleased with those. And but I'm going to campaign like we're 30 points behind, just like we did in the 2020 campaign. We're going to be campaigning hard, and I'm looking forward to it. I'm looking forward to getting out and meeting everybody around this district. And for those that don't know me, introduce myself and point out the differences, between a real conservative and someone who just says they are and then votes with the liberals 40 to 50% of the time.
There weren't too many people in that poll that didn't know who you were. You had a name ID that was about 96.8%, so which 97%. I mean, that's stratospheric. And that 3% that didn't know who you were obviously living under a rock for the last 2 years. So I hope that the folks will get to know you even more than they already did over the last couple of years. If the folks out there watching this want to support the campaign financially or in any other way, how do they do that?
They go to our website, cultforcongress.com. And you guys, I'm not supported by special interest groups. Same thing that it was when I ran for governor and received a record number for any Republican in history of the state votes. I'm supported by we the people, the same as in the governor's race. And the only special interest group, like I said before, that I'm going to represent when I'm in Congress is the special interest group of we the people. So I'm really looking forward to that happening and serving the people of this district and this state and this country. Because of Congress, it doesn't matter if the congressman is from Texas or Nebraska or Florida. They all get together and decide things that are going to affect everyone everywhere in the United States. And so right. I'm really looking forward to being that public servant who will abide by my oath of office and take care of the republic, which in turn makes everyone freer. Individual freedom and liberty is huge, and that is going to be at the forefront of everything that I do.
Well, Mr. Culp, Merry Christmas. Any parting words for the folks? Because we're not going to be on air next week, so this will be our final show for 2021 as we head into 2022.
Yeah, I would like everybody just to, I know there's a lot of stuff going on, a lot of things that are, a little bit scary because, the left knows they only have a short time. They know they're going to lose in 2022. They are pushing socialism, communism, whatever you want to call it, very, very hard. And some of the stuff that's happening is a little scary. If you watch the news too much, it creates anxiety. And I would suggest that everybody just take some time, take a deep breath, spend some time with family and the ones that you love, give them a big hug, and pray to our Creator, and everything's going to be fine. And I hope that everyone has a very Merry Christmas, and 2020 is going to be a great new year. So you guys just
2022.
2022.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys just take a deep breath, hug the ones you love, and everything is going to be great.
We love you guys. On behalf of myself and my family, I just want to wish you all a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. And we will see you guys next year in 2022. Good night.
Good night, everybody.